evening, you're watching the main news on Hoi International Business Channel. I'm Chloe Feng. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Hong Kong gets another vote of confidence at a gathering of the world's financial elite. There's a surprise rise in China's imports in October, but exports worsen. And Antonio Guterres describes Gaza as a graveyard for children. Vice Premier Chloe Feng and senior mainland regulators have endorsed Hong Kong's role as an international financial hub. This came as the three-day Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit kicked off as the Hong Kong Monetary Authority celebrated its 30th anniversary. About 300 global finance titans packed the Four Seasons Hotel in Central as Hong Kong further showcased its attractiveness. Participants of the second edition of the Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit included 90 group chairpersons and chief executives of leading institutions, such as HSBC, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs.
Reopening of Hong Kong, and now we're in full swing.
Monetary Authority Chief Executive Eddie Yue opened the gathering before Vice Premier Chloe Feng, in his keynote speech, analyzed China's commitment to consolidate Hong Kong's position as an international financial center.
Increase support for Hong Kong's development as an offshore renminbi business hub, expand interconnection between the mainland and Hong Kong financial markets, and attract more international capital through Hong Kong to take part in the development of the mainland.
Chief Executive John Lee echoed her, saying Hong Kong is at the center of the world stage, with its unique one country, two systems principle, linking the mainland and the globe, and a comprehensive legal system that secures investor confidence.
Through that guiding principle flows Hong Kong's common law system, the only such jurisdiction in China. As many of the major financial centers around the world practice common law, this commonality in our legal system creates more certainty and understanding for all.
Three senior mainland regulators took part, including Central Bank Deputy Governor Jiang Qing-song, who addressed concerns about China's property woes and local government debts.
You may ask me, are you worried? No, not always, not too much. My evaluation of economic performance are placed in the long-run framework. If the short-term economic indicators have not significantly deviated from the long-term trend, I prefer to leave market forces to play their roles.
Jiang said measures have been implemented to stabilize the real estate sector, and a new mechanism is being introduced to manage debts. Meanwhile, Wang Jianjun, vice chairman of China Securities Regulatory Commission, pledged support for Hong Kong's capital market, with new IPO rules to make it easier for mainland firms to list in Hong Kong. Unlike last year, reporters are not allowed to enter the grand ballroom, presumably because of the large number of participants. This year also marks the first time that mainland regulatory officials are attending the event in person, exchanging ideas with the global financiers. China's imports grew unexpectedly last month, ending 12 consecutive sessions of decline. But exports worsened from September, marked by double-digit drops in shipments to Europe and Southeast Asia. Remy Yang reports.
China's exports not only fell for the sixth consecutive month, but also missed expectations. According to customs data, exports in US dollar terms dipped 6.4% year-on-year in October, against forecasts of a 3.3% drop, and deepening from losses in the previous month. For the first 10 months of the year, exports declined by 6.4% compared to the same period in 2022. Breaking down the performance by region, Exports to the United States fell 8.2%, while those to the European Union and Southeast Asian nations even plunged by double digits. But there was also good news for the world's second largest economy. Imports unexpectedly rose 3%, reversing the 6.2% decrease in September and ending 12 straight months of year-on-year decline. Crude oil imports rose by both volume and value, but that of rare earths fell. China's trade surplus in October stood at $56.5 billion, down from $77.7 billion in the previous month. Investors were unfazed by the mixed results, with the muted response from regional markets. The Shanghai Composite Index ended the day almost flat, while local benchmark the Hang Seng Index dipped by more than 1%. Raymond Yang, Cable News.
Beijing and Canberra are resuming their annual leaders' summit as their relations improved dramatically following a visit to China by the Australian Prime Minister.
Today, Premier Li and I had very constructive dialogue. It provides an opportunity for us to move forward with common interests, and there is no doubt that this visit has helped to assist that process. We agree that our differences should not define us. This is one of Australia's most important relationships, and I'm committed to advocating Australia's national interest as we move forward.
Albanese is the first Australian leader to visit China in 7 years. He has met President Xi Jinping, who said the China-Australia relationship has embarked on the right path and will benefit both nations. Beijing has been lifting curbs imposed on Australian exports in 2020, when ties plunged following Canberra's call for an investigation into the origins of COVID. The head of the United Nations has made another appeal for an urgent ceasefire in Gaza, where children accounted for 40% of the overall 10,000 Palestinians killed.
Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. Hundreds of girls and boys are reportedly being killed or injured every day. The nightmare in Gaza is more than a humanitarian crisis. It is a crisis of humanity. Ground operations by the Israel Defense Forces and continued bombardment are hitting civilians, hospitals, refugee camps, mosques, church, and UN facilities, including shelters. No one is safe.
As shells rained down on the besieged enclave, Israel again dismissed any truce until Hamas frees all the hostages it seized in a deadly raid 1 month ago. Israeli troops have cut the coastal strip in two and stepped up their offensive against Hamas. Israel said after the assault is over, it will exercise what it called security responsibility for Gaza for an indefinite period. Back in Hong Kong, anxiety and stress after the pandemic have been blamed for a sharp rise in teenage suicides.
After the resuming of the classes, and then I think the students, they do take a lot of time, to adjust, to the so-called the new normals. There are more barriers. So I think that is something that I think we have to work on.
Between August and October, 22 teenagers took their own lives, double the number for the same period last year. Their motives were linked to problems with their family, studies, health, or relationships. According to statistics, 10% of students have suicidal tendencies. Experts stress that it is important for youngsters to be taught that failure is part of life's journey. A motorcyclist has been killed just days after getting his probationary license. His pillion rider was injured. Janice Yeo tells us more.
A couple were riding on a motorcycle when it ran out of control and crashed into a flower bed on Tam Kon Shan Road in Tingyi at 4 a.m. The 23-year-old male motorcyclist was declared dead at the scene. His female pillion rider, also aged 23, was conscious when she was taken to Princess Margaret Hospital, suffering from bruises to her body. Personal belongings and wreckage were found several meters from the crash. It was later learned that the man received his probationary license only a week ago and was not allowed to carry another person on his bike. Earlier, firefighters rushed to a garage in Yuen Long after a fire broke out shortly after midnight. The fire in Pek Sha Tsuen was upgraded to third alarm after half an hour. 3 jets and 3 briefing apparatus teams were sent to the scene. The fire was put out shortly after 4 a.m., and no casualties were reported. 4 dogs were rescued at the height of the blaze, but 2 others are still missing. Police are investigating the fire and the fatal Qingyi motorcycle crash. Janice Yu, Cable News.
Finance Chief Paul Chen has painted a gloomy picture on economic growth, but predicts that the pace will pick up later.
We expect our GDP growth to be over 3%. Well, it is a little slower than what we would like to see, but this recovery effort is sustaining. And with the connectivity with the international community to continue to improve by having full resumption, say for example, in international flight connections, more visitors will come and more business will flow from that.
The government earlier predicted full-year growth of between 4% and 5%, but mainland exports and the SER re-exports have weakened. The revised growth forecast for the third quarter will be released on Friday. A look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index dropped nearly 300 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tracker found down 31 cents, Tencent down $4, and Meituan down $1.70. Alibaba down $1.70, Ping An down $1.55, AIA down $2.15. And finally, on to the weather now. Mainly cloudy with few rain patches tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 25 and 28 degrees. Sunny for the rest of the week. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Chloe Feng. Thank you for watching. Good night.